yes, the next game is a real Tier 2 clash, and also like a funny clash of continents that only shows up in these festival
quite
November
an
series.
Game. And we're getting to it's the first of a 2-match series actually that these two are playing. They're going to play this week and next week, both times in Russia. So that's it's good to see some of these games. Obviously, Russia were at the last World Cup and still it's in the hunt for this one, and Chile are still in the hunt for the next World Cup as well, having dumped Canada out earlier in the year. So kind of good fun in that regard. It's going to be at the Yug Sports Stadium in Sochi in Russia. Kick off 3 o'clock. That's local time. 12 o'clock noon GMT. So it's actually the earliest of the games.
Oh, we screwed up.
I'm just chucking it in there. It's noon here, but it's 3 o'clock local time. Chris Busby of the IRFU is the man with the whistle, the referee. Adam Jones and Manuel Bottino are the linesmen, and Sean Brickell is in the TMO. So 2 Welsh, 1 Irish, and an Italian, all Pro 14 kind of refereeing team for this one.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a funny game. They have met once before, back in 2017. Russia won 42-11 in Hong Kong in a game that it's impossible to extrapolate anything from, other than Russia coped better on that occasion with going to Hong Kong to play Chile. Which,
I think it was It was a Cup of Nations or something that Hong Kong hosted. Was a very unusual one. That was it. But that is the only time that they've met, and it's a while ago now as well. A lot of development has happened in Chile and Russia since then.
I'm curious to see what the Chileans bring. I have a feeling I know what the Russians are going to bring. The Russians are going to be physical. They're going to play set piece ball, defense ball,
territory ball, 3-point ball,
absolutely all of those balls. They're going to play them all, and they're going to play a very simple, effective physical game plan and look to outmuscle the Chileans. And then
Chileans, we have tape on doing exactly that to Canada once, and then the opposite of that when they met them down in Chile. They cut loose in Chile, whereas they were tight and scrappy in Canada.
Correct. And against Uruguay, they played that tight, scrappy game again. Like they have been for predominantly this season a chop and jackal and kick deep
big forwards.
And defend.
They have some serious units in that pack for a tier 2 side.
Sure.
Like they're massive. And their 10 is very good as well.
Yes,
like they actually,
he's a potential game breaker.
They can move people around the field very well when they want to. It depends what conditions are like in Sochi as well, and what they kind of feel when they face the Russian kind of physicality in the first off. We'll see in the early exchanges how both sides are.
They did look big against Canada.
Yes, and everyone looks big against Canada because they're quite small.
Against Canada, that's right.
Except Belgium last week.
Like I'm sure Russia would probably beat Canada.
I would think so. I think the level of that Rugby Europe Championship is actually quite high in terms of the physicality, and it does tend to shock the teams from the Americas. Like even the US would struggle, and the US are the biggest of the teams in the Americas.
The US would probably finish 5th or 6th.
I think they would struggle based on this year's showings against Romania, against Russia, against Portugal, against Spain. Definitely lose to Georgia.
Oh, sure.
But like that, it's the Rugby Europe is actually developing into quite a competitive thing with like all of them are eyeballing Europe too, and it's quite competitive, and Russia have a mind to that as well. And
they do, although to be fair, Russia are on the lowest ebb now that they've been all season. They opened their season with a tenacious, jackling, frustrating 18-13 win over Romania.
Disciplined win over an ill-disciplined Romania. They capitalised on that by kicking all the threes and punishing them.
They caught them with bad penalties, and that could be a narrative of this game. They have a lovely place kicker in Guy San, and Chile aren't the most disciplined team in the world.
True.
Especially away from home. They could be just a little loose, just a little disjointed, not enjoying the contacts as much as they hoped they would, and then all of a sudden those good jackal steals turn into off your feet, get your hands off the ball penalties.
Indeed.
And then all of a sudden Russia are ticking over the scoreboard. That's very much their narrative. But since then, it's not been great for Russia. I mean, the Iberians have put absolute scores on them. Portugal and Spain last week,
which is probably the mold that Chile. Those are that's the tape that Chile should be looking at, because as good as their physicality is, you play Russia in when you play that physical game, and they can be very accurate and very disciplined at it, and they will be looking to put the squeeze on because
they fared better against Georgia and Romania than they did against Portugal and Spain. Exactly. That's probably telling.
Teams that up the tempo, they don't have that much speed. It was true in the World Cup. They were very combative in the contact, even against tier 1 sides. They were able to mix it. They had a good, really good 7 in that tournament as well, who we haven't really seen since. He's disappeared. Gadjev. It was awesome in that tournament, and they were very combative. But their wingers were also like back row forwards in that tournament, and there was just no speed out there to execute in the fire. Whereas Chile, even though they have a massive pack, a few really big units, they were bullies in leg 1 against Canada. they cut loose in Chile, and they should be looking at the tape from the Iberians and thinking that's our way to win this game.
And that time we were talking about Fernandez, what a game he had against Canada out in wherever it was, not in Santiago but somewhere in Chile. That was a fabulous vintage Valparaiso, that's where it was. A vintage performance from any 10. He was in front of a pack that was going forward, but he cut lines really well. He was an absolute running threat, but had a lovely passing and kicking game. And all of these guys have a good kicking game.
They do.
On the edge.
Same is true of Uruguay, same is true of Argentina 15 or Jaguars. They are all good footballers down there, and they should utilise it.
It's a kind of game that could shock Uruguay, just finding the edge quickly, and then as the Russians are slowly scrambling, kicking the ball ahead of them and outpacing them on the edge, finding tries for cheap.
Chip and chase is definitely, if they can find the edge at all, chip and chase should favour them. I think they are the quicker backline by far. But it's whether they are able to kind of stand up to that pressure in a stadium in Sochi with the home crowd, and with they are the Russian Bears, they are physical.
No question, and they'll be hurting from last week. They had 14 men last week, and they're probably just the one of the teams least equipped with being down to 14 in World Rugby.
Just to cover the space alone. It's just you're going to get cut apart.
So there's only so much you can really read into that, other than they can't get cards because they can't cope. But from a Chilean point of view, it is that marriage of, we have to front up, we have to be physical to match these guys, we're going to have to be game at the set piece and at the breakdown, but also that's not our game plan. At the same time, that's not what we're trying to make the game about. That's just a prerequisite to doing what we want to do, which is being quick and getting to the edge.
Two pass plays, at least two pass plays, move the pill wide of those rucks, move the Russians left to right, try and use the extremities to make them cover more distance on defence. It'll make the offensive cleanouts easier when you're stretching them anyway, if you can be accurate. And just take the game to them, as they have done throughout that World Cup campaign. We obviously saw Uruguay struggle to travel to Europe after such a big campaign, a big emotional campaign, and arrive to the pitch. It may be the same for Chile, but we don't know. They've had a longer cooling off period. Exactly, so we don't know. No judgments, and I don't fully know what happens when these two take the field, because
it's kind of a new picture.
It is a new picture. We saw obviously Uruguay struggle against Romania away from home, and Romania are a pretty well established force in that Rugby Europe Championship as our Uruguayan thing, whereas Chile are kind of a coming force. Russia got in by default to the last World Cup. They didn't qualify. They're probably a better team since that World Cup, because they kind of got in shape for the World Cup and did arrive to the pitch and played a good game in day one against Japan, and they have grown since then. So it's whoever's bets. It's take your pick as to who's in a better place right now. I'm not fully sure. I think Chile ultimately are closer to getting their arses into the World Cup, which makes them in a better place overall in terms of getting that big payday. But in terms of when they take the field, I don't know. We will know more next week, and they're going to do it twice because it's on next week as well.
It's a good one, But the one thing I'd say about Chile is that they definitely appear to be well coached.
They do.
They don't seem to be a stupid team as much as they can be a nasty team, with that eye gouge. They can
or
be
some of the sliding late hits and stuff.
They
were doing against the poor Canadians.
They're not the nicest team, but they don't. That doesn't mean they're a stupid team.
No.
And so they could be if they're wily enough, if they can sort out the areas like maul defense, and then manage their way around the game, trusting their kicking acumen to just win the territory battle and play most of the game down there, then they could pull off an upset. And I think you're definitely thinking, ooh, Chile, if they can pull off this win.
It's definitely not Fortress Sochi either, because I think that Portugal win came in this very stadium and they absolutely hosed them. You can play a bit of ball here if weather allows it. So I'm hopeful for the South Americans to put in a show on a European soil. If it's not this week, then next week.
Form guide's not great for Russia. They're two what do they call that league? The Rugby Europe Super Cup. Those two teams just lost at home back-to-back weeks against the Israeli team and the Georgian team. So, and they've obviously had that terrible result against the Spanish last week. Netherlands win notwithstanding, Russia not in a great place. So I think opportunity beckons for Chile, but I don't know. How do you see it going?
I don't know. How do you see it going?
You're not giving an answer.
I'm just saying.
I'll say Chile win.
I'm
going to say Chile steal a win.
I was kind of leaning that way myself as well.
It probably won't happen.
It probably won't. Maybe I'll say Russia on a home edge it, and Chile don't look quite to the pitch. But I really don't know, and I am excited to see, because like it's matchups like these that need to happen more often for these teams. I think just cross-continental tier 2 clashes, and it's a 2-match series, kind of more akin to like old school rugby tours like that. I love everything about these kinds of matchups, and I whoever wins, I just hope it's the better side that wins. I hope we see a bit of justice. If someone gets themselves red carded, they will deserve to lose, and it could be any of them. So I don't know, but I'll say Russia for week 1 at home, and you're back in Chile.
Yeah, just to maybe be smart. Maybe we'll see all the Chilean smarts come to fruition. Yeah. Although I must say the Rugby Europe teams tend to be matching up very well against the America teams, as you say.
Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe for more content, and leave a comment down below as well, because we really enjoy the chat and hearing your views. Thank you.